Hey everybody, welcome to Athena After Dark, presented by Vagabond Choppers. I hope everybody's having a good evening. This is home of 5 good things. Anyone who doesn't know the premise, if you stop and take time to say 5 good things that are going on, even when you're having a bad day, it helps change the whole vibe, move forward in a positive way. So I wanted to make sure that I say hello to everybody who's been commenting. Dawn is doing a test now about Facebook and how to get the comments in here. So I see some comments from YouTube, but I don't get the whole Facebook one. Thing one's doing a good job. He's on the money and we're ready to go. So he's pushing buttons and we're getting the hang of it. So I'm glad everybody's here tonight. For everybody who's watching now, cool. Everybody that watches later, thank you for participating. I'm grateful, and so is everyone else. And okay, so we're going to talk about some fun that we're going to have. Smokeouts coming 9th through the 11th of September, Rowan County Fairgrounds, Salisbury, North Carolina. It is going to be a blast. Our guest tonight is actually going to be making an appearance there, so that's very cool. I'm excited about that. It's nice to be around good people, doing fun things and enjoying motorcycles and everyone, the camaraderie, the respect that goes along with it. So again, I hope everybody's having a good night. And okay, we're going to move on to the next segment. It's going to be the fan 5 good things. Joseph in Mercedes, Texas says, hello, Athena. I'm grateful for my club brothers. We share a special bond, and it was quite a journey to get here. And finally, I know where I belong. That is super cool. I'm super excited for you because sometimes in the world, you don't know where you fit. I grew up around motorcycle clubs, and now I'm a motor maid because I went my whole life and didn't know where I fit. And I met a couple of nice older women who brought me in and said, look at all of this. This is what we do. And I'm just proud to be a motor maid. I have quite a lot of sisters that I've brought in, sisters that have helped me along the way. So if you don't know about motor maids, it's motormaidsinc.org. Check it out for sure. All right, let's see. Mark, Albany, Georgia. I just planned my 50th birthday trip from here in Georgia to Fairbanks, Alaska next summer. Super, super exciting. I did that trip. I actually did, we did Fairbanks, Alaska back to Key West. Well, Key West. I made it to Key West. Everybody else kind of cut out along the way, jobs and things of that nature, but went from one point to the next. So it was super exciting and cool. I saw birds that I never thought I would see in my life. Red eagles, American eagles, roads that were quite an adventure and also a challenge. So make sure that you plot your course correctly and bring lots of cold winter and wet wear, because the summer it's 40 degrees and raining, and that's nice weather for everybody up there in Alaska. It's like 23 hours a day too, so keep that in mind. All right, let's move on here. We got Terrence from Midland, Ohio. I just bought a completely original 1949 Panhead from the wife of its original owner. That's a treasure. We have a lot of friends that appreciate fine antique motorcycles, and they're just a dream when you can get it and it was the original owner, you're the second owner. That's almost priceless. Well, good luck with that, and if you need anything, holler, because we have lots of people we know that have good stuff for you. All right, Samantha, Fort Worth, Texas. I just met the man of my dreams. He's a football player who loves motorcycles and dogs. That is very neat. Motorcycles are good, dogs are good. Football player, if he plays for the NFL or anything good like that, I imagine, dinners are good when he takes you out. So that's awesome. Enjoy that. And then let's see, we have Darren, Los Angeles. I'm happy with my purchase of a new Softail in electric blue. It's fast. Well, that is an extremely nice motorcycle. I've been riding some of the newer Harleys, and although they don't have the same sound and the romanticism that goes on with our older bikes, they're still really good. They perform well. Okay, so next we're moving to Ask Athena, the viewer question of the week. This one's good. Drew from Wildwood, New Jersey. He says, I understand you're a motorcycle builder, but do you build motors? If so, what is your preference? So at my shop, Vagabond Chopper, we do the math there. We pick out all the parts, and we have a really good machinist that has all the tools, because we don't have the space for all that equipment to do it. So we trust in him to get the machining work done based on our criteria and the parts that we provide after doing the math. And we go ahead and we assemble. So technically, we're assemblers of motors in our shop. So if that answers your question, if I do a crate motor or something like that, I use S&S products. If I do Harley Davidson and I hot rod them, I do those too. So, I mean, it all depends on what it is. But yeah, we do the blueprint of everything and keep it going forward. And Don's really talented, so he does math. He just does math. Oh, and have to say happy anniversary. Yesterday was our anniversary, so that is 18 years of me torturing him and vice versa. Lots of love all around. So cool. Cultural Corner. That's next. So this one was a good one. Last week, we featured some stuff about motor maids. Again, being a motor maid. This week, we're doing a book. It's the Booze Fighters. It's the original, the Wild Ones. It's the Tales of the Booze Fighters and the Motorcycle Club. So you get an inside look at the real start of an outlaw biker culture and the raucous and heartfelt recounting of the early days of biker clubs. The story starts one weekend in 1947 at a motorcycle race in Hollister. A few members of one of the clubs, the No Hold Bars Booze Fighters, I have to scroll down there. See, I'm not pushing buttons. He is. Thing one, where you at, man? See, I learned to read a prompter. I hope everybody's laughing at me because I'm laughing at me. So he's probably looking at.
We're checking noise.
We're just checking for noise. Yeah, good excuse. So the Booze Fighters, they got a little juiced up and took their racing to the street. There's tons of mayhem and mischief in this book, but to some, it's almost a romance novel, nonfiction. So if you go back to the days of old, like right after World War II, there's some things that went on that people find hard to believe because times have changed so much and we've progressed in our machines, and then we've, things have changed, our technology, all of it. So we'll get into that because I've got some Booze Fighter stuff for you in the history segment. So we'll move on. Next is the product of the week. So I was just in Sturgis. Everybody knows we had a really good time. It was really hot and we were working really hard. And I was working with everybody at Cycle Source to put on the shows and things like that. We went ahead and worked past the hours of a lot of the restaurants being open. So this week, my product of the week is Baby Bell cheese rounds and Oh Snap pickles in a bag. And I know it sounds weird, but recently after the work in South Dakota and being late night hungry, I needed some kind of sustainable food like filler. So those two things kept me happy during my trip. And if you can pick them up, try them. I was reluctant. Pickles in a bag, who would think? And Baby Bell cheese, well, I don't know. When I was a kid, it wasn't so good. I guess now older, it's better. So those are my product picks of the week. And it's going to be all kinds of stuff. We're going to have the range of all different stuff because I'm a girl and that's just how it goes. So, and it's my little thing here. Okay, I'm making noise. I dropped the plate. Oh. Okay, so this is something new that I added in because I'm trying to get I'm doing my best to get my whole forum together. All the things I wanted when I did the outline for the show and started with the basics so we could get the program going. Okay, so this rider is Huck Jenkins. This is our future spotlight. So this kid is, he's going to be one of the 14 amateur dirt bike riders representing the U.S. in International 6 Days of Enduro. That competition starts today and it goes through September 3rd in, let's see if I don't massacre this name, La Poyenne-Vallée, a town in southern France. See, that almost sounded like I knew what I was doing. So Huck is excited. He said he's excited for the trip and the competition. And the part that I love is this kid says it's not just an amazing opportunity to be able to do it in any sport, but you do it because you love it, not because you want anything out of it. That right there made me want to put him in as my first future spotlight. His dad, Doug Jenkins, is going to go ahead and accompany him on the trip. So this kid got his first dirt bike when he was 12. His dad suggested that he take up a hobby to keep him out of trouble. I so relate to this. He says he wasn't one of those kids who was really thriving in school. His dad wanted him to keep him out of juvie, so he bought him his first dirt bike. He worked in the shop, in an auto body shop, and saved up a whole year of school. He was going to school and he saved up $3,000 and he rode his bike around in the yard and fell in love. So he says most kids he's been racing and riding with have been riding since they were 4 and he's gotten a little bit of a late start, but he still loves it. This kid is tagged as a quarrelsome child. I mean, if that's a word that any of us use, it's really pretty much he's a little hellraiser when he was a kid, like a lot of us were. I know I wasn't a picnic. My dad My dad had his hands full for sure. Um, but his interest in dirt bikes improved his outlook. His dad said it improved very, very much. So he started the motorcycle program, and his dad said that his love of motorcycles is what he uses to motivate him in other areas. So he said that racing helped him a lot because of his focus. He has more energy to do things. So if you think about it in a positive perspective, his family supported him. They found something that he liked to do. Of course, it was motorcycles. As many of us know, that saves us from crazy, crazy stuff, neighborhood stuff, good stuff, bad stuff, but it changes the path that you go on. Once you're hooked, you're hooked. So go Huck. We're very proud of you. And we'll be looking and watching, and I'll update everybody next week on how he finished and how he represented the United States. That is so awesome. Okay, so next we're going to do History Happens. We're going to do it on the Booze Fighters Motorcycle Club, the original wild ones. So Willie Faulkner and J.D. Cameron founded the Booze Fighters Club in 1946. In California, they were portrayed in the movie The Wild One by actors Marlon Brando and Lee Marvin, which was loosely based on the events at Hollister. There was a riot in 1947. The club's motto, a drinking club with a motorcycle problem, is how they were tagged. And, some things are myth and some things are legend. So you kind of, if you follow the history, and the reason that I'm telling everybody about this is because there's history in our motorcycle lifestyle. And it's motorcycle enthusiasts, it's bikers, it's hellraisers, it's smart individuals who make the machines that make it able for us to go and do the hell raising or the racing or the whatever it is that you do. So it's the common denominator. So after World War II, Willie had a difficult time adjusting to his civilian life. So he became a member of the 13 Rebels Motorcycle Club. For 2 years prior, he was in the club, and then Pearl Harbor attack happened. He was nicknamed Wino Willie at age 12 because he liked to drink red wine. Go figure. At that time, things were way different. Again, history, if you look back and see, they survived things that we couldn't even fathom these days with everything that's going on around us. So, you have to respect that, and you should revel in it and learn from it, because then it doesn't repeat itself, supposedly. During the war, he had risen in the ranks of the Army Air Corps, and then he stumbled and fell again as a result of a drunken incident in a bar. I'm sure that has a correlation there with the name. After he was done with that in the service, he rejoined the 13 Rebels. 1946, he had his membership stripped from him by the other members after an incident at quarter mile race in San Diego. So Willie was a hellraiser. They used to drink back then, and I mean drink. They really drank all the time. I can't imagine. They say war's hell, but just the stories. And if anybody's gotten a chance to get to know any of our veterans, no matter how old they are, the things that they'll share with you, if you just sit back and listen, you learn a lot. So take the time, make the time. So Willie was obviously disillusioned and drunk and angry. The one night, him and his 3 former service members were in the bar drinking in Los Angeles, and they decided they were going to start a club. So they took the name from a shouted suggestion of a fellow bar patron. So some guy yelled out, "Hey, you should be the Booze Fighters." And there you go. I think the same thing happened with the Doobie Brothers. That's how they got their name. So the 4 recruited another 16 members, also war veterans, with the exception of one, and they applied for AMA membership. It was later reported that the AMA president declined the application, stating that no goddamn way am I giving a name like that to a charter. Okay, Motormaids are sanctioned by the AMA. We're at 1941. So I get it. You kind of can't be booze fighters. That was against what it was. All right, so the club had 3 chapters by 1947, and they attended the Hollister riot. Wino Willie was mistakenly arrested for inciting a riot and in the jailbreak of other bikers who had already been arrested, when in fact, this man was trying to do quite the opposite. He was trying to get the crowd to just calm down and shut up so that they could just get in and get out. Okay, so myth, legend, however you want to look at it, if you check out the Booze Fighters MC and the history and you read that book, it opens up a whole different perspective as to how motorcycling changed and evolved from the biker side, motorcycle enthusiast side, to the person that, some people own dealerships, some women rode with dealerships, some guys came back from the war and they just didn't assimilate well, and they went ahead and that's how they live their life. So it's cool to know the stuff, and I just want to make sure that I start putting it in there, because that's the premise of what we want to do, is preserve our history. We'll start showing some good pictures too. We'll get some really good guests, and maybe we get Michael Lichter on here and a few others like Felicia Morgan. They have good pictures from a long time ago that have really good stories. So we'll give it a shot for that. If you're listening or you're watching, I'm going to call and ask. All right. So our community corner tonight, I don't have a logo for, because I did not want to put it up without permission. But everybody understands mealsonwheelsamerica.org. Our seniors need our help with all the things that are going on monetarily, and it's difficult for them. When my Uncle Larry's 89, he's older. He lives on Social Security, has a small pension, and everything rises around him, but those don't. So if anybody can take time, if you have time to click on their website and donate money, if you can find out a way to help. The best part about this program is they don't just provide healthy meals. The people who go there and volunteer, they go every week. They're consistent. And that's someone for these folks to talk to and have some social interaction with. So it matters. It's kind and considerate to spend time. And again, you learn stuff, because they've been through shit none of us even could really fathom. And here they are. They need our help. So please consider donating. And again, if you're able, make the time to volunteer. Even if it's once a month, once every 6 months, and you just donate when you can, that would be awesome. It's greatly appreciated. So that's our community corner. Okay, so now we're getting to the good stuff. We're going to put up some pictures here, as we're going to get to know the talented engineer / builder, because I don't know exactly how we'll ask him what he would prefer. Mr. Kevin Baxter of ProTwin Performance. That's protwin.com and baxtersgarage.com. He is in Georgia, and he's coming in here, but we have some cool pictures. That's him machining there. And then I have a picture of his crew. There they are. That was right after the holidays. I think that's awesome. At least somebody had the sense to dress up as Santa Claus, and it wasn't the boss. I love it. He builds really cool motorcycles. He's got some that he's bringing to the smoke out. You have to see them. I saw some in Sturgis. Top notch. Absolutely top notch. I'm in awe. I admire that. We do everything that we do in this industry. We do it because the love of motorcycles. Again, like the kid who's riding a dirt bike, he doesn't do it because there's something in it for him other than the fact that he loves to do it, and he feels accomplished by completing what it is he sets his mind out to do. So that's cool. So, all right. So then let's see the next picture. This is him in the shop, and he definitely looks like he's had a long day and he's ready to be done. And then the full motorcycle, you have to see that. That's awesome. It's fantastic. All right. So we're going to bring Mr. Kevin Baxter in. Here we go.
Is this on?
It's on. Hello.
Why are you in my phone? You know it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's after dark. That's what we do.
It's after dark. It's almost after my bedtime.
Oh, see, at least we caught you right at the right time. So
how are you, hon?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm just happy to be here.
I'm very happy for you to be here. I thank you very much for making the time. And as I'm learning, I do my show in the pajamas, and I've asked like a first few of my guests to wear pajamas, but as I'm finding my biker community, they don't even own pajamas. So
don't ask me to stand up.
Okay, good. There you go. At least we're all on the same page. I love it. That's fantastic. I love it. That is good. But I'm going to have to get a sponsor. I'm working to get the Pajamagram people so that I can get them to send my friends pajamas so they can participate too. So if I hook that up, I'll send you pajamas and then I'll have you back in full pajamas. Perfect. So cool. I'm glad you're here tonight. So everything's good for you? How's the weather? Is it starting to cool off up there north of where I am?
No, it's still hot here. It's still hot and humid and in the 90s. This is the longest summer we've had I think in quite a while. I'm ready for it to cool off.
Yes, and you get way cooler than we do, for sure. You're going to be at the Smokeout.
Yeah,
you're going to make an appearance there. That is.
I'll tell you what. what Chris and Heather, I mean, firing this thing back off, bringing it back to Salisbury. The two of them, they are so in the industry. You know, there's so many facets of this industry, and that's one of the things I love about it. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, there's a reason Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors of ice cream, right?
Yes.
And in the motorcycle industry, there's something for everybody. And what I'm watching, you know, Chris and Heather do, not just with the smoke out, but everything. Like they were everywhere at Sturgis, you know, and all the stuff they're doing. They're trying to bring all those 31 flavors, you know, together in one place, you know, where everybody shares a passion for bikes, regardless of what your style is. So I'm really excited to be at the Smokeout, and you know, the shows they're having, the events, the what world's strongest biker thing that he's doing with the
Lifted motors and things. So
it's a riot.
we had so much fun in Sturgis. It was absolutely ridiculous. And
Yeah.
knowing Chris and Heather, that's what they're doing, is they're trying to bring back the fun that we had when we were, you know, coming up in the motorcycles before we were in the industry or anything like that. Some of the good old, I guess now it's old fashioned stuff, you know, because they do it, but the kids are enjoying it. You know, they like camping now. They want to go see how us I'd say veterans. That's the good word for it. Us veterans used to do it, you know.
The grassroots.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's important. It's important. That's why I do this, because I want to talk to everybody and get their stories about what was important to them, so people can watch it and say, hey, you know, that's super cool that it's on, it's preserved here in this screen off to the internet.
Yes.
So you have a fantastic YouTube channel, and I know there's a story behind
Thanks.
how all that started. I would love for our viewers to get a full picture of that.
Yeah, so it's interesting how it's evolved. It has a bit to do with my history in the industry, and you know, I started out nearly 20 years ago, not by opening a shop and working my way through it. I actually started with the manufacturers, right? You know, doing consulting work, R&D, field studies, you know, testing, developing new products and stuff like that. And I got to know all the manufacturers really well. And that sort of evolved into me teaching training classes. Like, you know, I would teach fuel injection, because me and a handful of other guys were kind of really the first ones to jump into fuel injection very early on in the late 90s, I guess. And so, you know, through teaching these classes and doing these seminars, like at Cincinnati and Indy and all these other places, over the years, I started to realize that there's an enormous thirst for knowledge, but there's not very many collective places to get it. You know, when you start getting into the nuances of a lot of different things. And over the years, I started realizing a lot of people asking the same questions, you know, and that was interesting. And one of the things I liked the most about it, it was the biggest thing with fuel injection, especially, and technology of building engines. I remember nearly every time I would teach a seminar, everyone would be sitting in different groups, right? You would have the young whippersnappers full of piss and vinegar sitting up front, you know, and then you'd have, you know, like dealer principals, and you would have shop owners, been in for a long time. But it never failed. Always in the back of the room, there was a group of old guys, right? All these old guys. And you could tell that they were, and we would have, you know, 200 plus people in some of our seminars on this stuff. And it was always the old guys, you could tell, are sitting back with their, you know, arms crossed, and they knew they needed to be there, but they didn't know computers. All this stuff was new to them and everything. Right. And I would always start the seminars with the same question. And I would ask, who could make a Super G carb run on a Sportster, on an Ironhead Sportster? And the only guys in the room that would raise their hands were the old guys in the back.
Yeah.
And I would always say, congratulations, you're the best tuners in the room. All I've got to do is teach you software. You know, they understood engines. They understood the concept. They understood how to give an engine what it wants. And so basically, over all of these years of collecting all these questions from people about products and everything, when I realized there were the common questions, I decided that I wanted to be a source of information. So I'm a collector of information, I guess you could say. So I was in a unique position to start the channel because I already had relationships with nearly all of the manufacturers in the industry and an inside access to everything, to the information, background of products and all that type of stuff. But then I also had a constant influx of customers coming in the shop, seeing the same problems over and over and over. So after a little while, motorcycles have gotten newer, when they have a problem, the problem is more complicated, more difficult for the layperson to understand, and typically a lot more expensive to fix, right?
Oh, yeah.
So my goal with the channel isn't to poo-poo a particular manufacturer. I don't speak ill of anybody's product. If it's a product that's either not a good product, doesn't do what it claims or whatever, I just don't mention it, right? But I like to be a source of fair, unbiased information, present the facts, and the overall goal is just to educate consumers, because they know when they have a problem. Sometimes they don't know why they have the problem.
Right.
They don't know what caused the problem. They don't know why it costs what it does to fix that issue. And so I guess my biggest, the most common thing I say when people come in with an issue, I tell them all the same thing. You know your motorcycle better than I do, because you're the guy that rides it all the time.
Yes.
If you hear a noise that just started from somewhere, it doesn't mean that's normal, right? That's kind of the big thing, is people hear that's normal when they have a problem. Normal doesn't mean good.
No.
I mean, dog crap normally smells bad, but that doesn't mean it smells good, right? So I wanted people to again have a source of unbiased information of when they have a failure, to try to help them understand what caused it, and then hopefully prevent it in the future. So that's kind of how the whole channel thing started.
And everybody enjoys it for sure. And I understand that, because in the shop, it's the same thing. You kind of have to tell them, you don't have x-ray vision, but as we do things, we learn these are the common issues that go on with this manufacturer. We do American stuff. So again, Don has a natural God-given talent. I know everything I know from breaking shit from 1984 until now. And, I've had to learn where he came to me one time and he's like, okay, I have to give up working on motorcycles. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, doesn't even fathom in my brain, because he has a talent. And he said, I can't tune the bike. I need a computer to do it. And I mean, he was ready to give up. And I was like, well, okay, I got to make that happen. And so I made it happen. And he was like, 10 minutes, same thing. He can't send you an email, but he can take a virus out of a computer. He taught me all the things, reading cell values and different things that even when they go to the dealership, they plug the bike in. It doesn't necessarily tell them there's anything wrong. It says there's nothing wrong. However, if you investigate more, the cells and the values and all the things in the program that he does, it shows you where there's a flux or an influx, and then they do the maps and the fuel injection with all the things. I'm learning that now. I'm very much an antique girl. I've ridden shovel heads my whole life. I got an Evo. I'm working on it. He's an Evo baby. But again, like you, he should be more an engineer than just in a shop putting motorcycles together. But we get all the stuff that nobody can fix. You know how that is. It's been 50,000 places, and then they're your customer or in your family for life, because they trust you. They know that you are considerate to their life, because safety is a key with motorcycles.
Yes.
You can leave one bolt out of a car and you could go 10 years, never know. You leave one out of a motorcycle, you could kill somebody. And a lot of times people don't consider that. So I think that's cool that you're making everybody aware of what's going on. And then, like you said, too, the cost involved, because you have all your stuff in your fuel tank just rots away, and fuel senders and all these things. And all that to replace that is a lot, and then you have all the stuff that goes along with it. So I think that's super cool. Now you've done some really cool charitable stuff. So you did Ironman triathlon to benefit special needs kids.
You did your research. You did some digging.
Just a little digging, and I know there's a local ride that you do there for the leukemia center and stuff like that. But this was intriguing because, like, I do a lot of stuff for kids. I'm all about children. If I could have 1,000 of them and I didn't have to actually have them, I probably would until I was old in a walker because I love little people. You could teach them everything and anything. My grandson's 4. He's a plethora of information. That child is something. But so you did Ironman contest, but that stemmed from something that you had an issue, you had an injury, and you started doing something, right?
Wow, you did do your research. I'm
Tell,
impressed. I'm not
tell,
surprised, but I'm impressed.
tell us all about it.
Yeah, so a bit of the backstory. I I was an avid boater for a long time and wakeboarding and stuff like that. And listen, this goes back about 5 years ago, I guess it was, 6 years ago. And it was the last pull of the weekend. I had a bunch of friends out with me and teaching them how to wakeboard and ski and such. And it was Sunday late afternoon. We're heading back to the marina. And one of the folks said, "Hey, Kevin, we haven't seen you do it yet. Why don't you do it?" I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I get back there, and it was one of those, you from the South, you'll know what the "Hey, Bubba, watch this" moment is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a "Hey, Bubba, watch this" moment, and came, my wife's
Oh my goodness.
towing, and there's my "Hey, Bubba, watch this," and I come across the wake, and here I am in air, and I thought, this isn't going to land well. This isn't going to be good, and it wasn't. No. So when I hit the water, it's this thing called a Liz Frank fracture. But basically, one leg came out of the wakeboard, the other one didn't. It got stuck in the boot, and then my foot twisted this way, and it was a pretty big deal. And so anyway, I was looking at multiple surgeries and many months worth of no weight bearing and all that, and my foot was that big around. So I'm laying on the couch one day, and thankfully I had my crew at the shop, keeping things going while I wasn't there. And out of nowhere, I hear a lawnmower crank up, and someone's cutting my grass. Now that's the first time, and it sounds like it's something insignificant, but I worry about things. I'm a worry guy, and a bit of a perfectionist, if you want to call it that. My grass was getting tall, and this guy, my next door neighbor, was cutting my grass, and he did it without me asking him to do it. And that's the first time in my adult life that another man had ever cut my grass. So I'm laying there, and I had some friends that had a special needs kid, and I guess it kind of hit me that, I'm going to get better, whether they got to cut my foot off or not. I'll figure this out. I can figure this out, but there are people that can't, kids that can't. And then I also learned a lot of friends in the military. It's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't know this. So, like, if you're active duty military and you have a special needs kid, you have access to a lot of health care for the kid, right? But once you discharge from the military, your kid, most of the time, will lose all of the benefits that they had for, therapy and all this type of stuff. So I'm laying there and I'm thinking, I'm an old, aging, fat motorcycle mechanic. What's the hardest thing that I could do to raise money for special needs kids as a way of giving back for my neighbor's good deed of cutting my grass? So I thought, I was a semi-pro bicyclist in my 20s. And I thought, I've never done an Ironman. I've never run more than 1.5 miles. I've never swam more than 100 yards. I can ride the heck out of a bicycle, even though it'd been a few years. I'm going to register for an Ironman. So the next morning, I looked it up and I realized that there was one in Chattanooga. And I called my orthopedic surgeon and I said, "Hey, what's the likelihood of me being able to do an Ironman dealing with my foot?" And he said, "Well, in a year or two, you probably could, training, take it easy, get into it and stuff." And I said, "Well, that sucks." And he goes, "Well, when are you planning on doing one?" I said, "Well, it's in 6 months." So I decided to start a nonprofit while I was laid up. And then I started training. I had a cast on my leg, started, on a bicycle trainer in the house. And after 2 or 3 months, I was able to actually put weight on it and start moving around and stuff. and raised $50,000 for one race.
Wow.
And then so I thought we may be onto something here. So then I went on this campaign, and basically I completed 6 Ironman races, raised a ton of money for military families, gifted all types of adaptive bicycles. Like even I went out to what's that Air Force base out in San Antonio? I don't remember that. We gifted like 5 bikes to adaptive bicycles to retired military families for their kids. And then I got into doing marathons at the same time, pushing special needs adults and kids in wheelchairs.
Oh, how cool.
Doing marathons and stuff. And I was loving it. I was in the best shape of my life. It was physically grueling, the hardest thing you could possibly imagine, mentally and physically, really. And then trying to run a business, maintain the family and all that. But I was very excited about it. It was a wonderful thing. And then, the flu thing hit, and that basically shut it all down. The events were canceled, gyms were closed and all that. And by that point, I have to admit, 20, 30 hours a week worth of training plus running a business, all that, physically, I was exhausted. I hurt everywhere. It's a very grueling sport. And so I hung it up for a little while, but I'm not going to lie. I still have all the equipment, and I am dying to get back out there.
With these contests, maybe you and Chris ought to talk. Maybe there's like some kind of thing that you can do at an event or something like that, where you have like a biker Ironman thing, and they all raise money for the special needs that you got going on. And maybe we should have a powwow about that. That would be cool.
I'm sure we can come up with something.
I'm sure we can. So that's absolutely amazing. And I thank you. I mean, my grandpa was at Pearl Harbor. My dad, his brothers were all service members. So, I get it. And I'm always grateful. And I thank everybody. And it's kind of crazy because like you look back at the history of things, and even with the technology, the need is still there. The need for so much. And as long as we just keep being good to one another and, doing the positive thing, that's what matters. So I'm so happy that you're here. So I'm going to ask you the questions.
Ask the question. Fire off questions.
Okay. So we're going to start with just a couple quick questions, and we'll get into the more detailed one. So first off, dogs or cats?
Oh, I hate to upset the kitty cat people out there, but I'm a dog person. I tried a cat once, and there was this idea of training an animal to poop in a box inside my house that I just didn't like.
Okay.
And cats they're interesting animals, and I wanted an animal I could wrestle with in the floor and play around, and one I could teach to fetch wrenches and stuff. And cats won't do that.
No, they will not. That is
I'm a dog person.
Okay. Apples or oranges?
Apples.
Apples,
because hot orange pie does not taste good.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
So
the hot apple pie with the butter on it and a little bit of ice cream, and so apples.
Okay. And oranges are overrated. I live in Florida, so I get it. Apples are cool. Hotel or camping?
I guess it would depend on. I like camping as a getaway. Haven't done it in a long time, but if I'm going to go to an event, that has activities and things like smokeout, for example, I would prefer to stay in a hotel just to have a nice quiet place, to
decompress,
kind of bring it down and call it your own. But I'm not opposed to a camping weekend, but hotels, I guess, yeah.
Okay. So, and that's a little bit of mix of both, because I get it. I totally get that. There's an experience to the camping,
Yes.
But when you're doing stuff, it's nice to have a mattress and a hot shower.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So slow, fast, or faster?
What kind of show is this? What are we talking about here?
It can be anything. It's a motorcycle.
Oh no, it's 10
after dark.
10:40 at night.
Show.
We're not going there.
Okay.
Well, I guess it depends on what I'm writing.
Okay, there you go. See,
And how old it is,
now
right?
that tells you too, though, the little bit of paying attention, because you're the first one to, like, actually.
Well, let's just say if I'm riding an Ironhead Sportster, I'm not going to be going very fast, right?
That's right.
But if I'm riding a Hayabusa, a brand new Hayabusa, that's like, yeah, we're going to be going real fast. So, it's a mood thing. It really depends. It's there's any aspect of life, right? Whether you're hanging around the house or working on projects or whatever, you got to have that mental balance, right?
Yes.
And one of my problems is, the past few years, I've always been in a hurry and I'm tired, so I'm trying to learn. I've got a lot of wonderful friends telling me, Kevin, slow down, man, take it easy. You need to slow down a little bit. So I've been riding the fast, and I'm
working on slowing down a bit.
And let's just say I'm starting to work that brake pedal just a little bit more.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
So the next one is sunshine or moonshine?
I'll drink moonshine during the day or at night.
Okay. That's a good answer. I like that.
I would say, let's see, sunshine or moonshine. I'd say a little bit of moonshine in the sunshine. How about that?
That works. That's a good answer. I like that.
All right.
Okay. So how long have you been riding?
Oh, let's see. Riding two wheels since I was 5 years old.
Okay. And then how long?
Yeah. Ever since I've always had a motorcycle since I was 5 years old of some kind.
And then you started wrenching really early, like at 9 years old, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I built I was exposed to engines and cars and motorcycles at a very early age, at 5 years old. My mom and stepdad got married when I was that age, and at the time, my stepdad had 9 cars and 4 bikes, so we were always in the garage doing something. But really, what hit it for me was at 9 years old, I built my first engine. We had it was a ritual that when you got home from school. Back when kids still had to do chores.
Oh yeah.
If there's any kids watching,
they still do around here. My 4-year-old grandson has chores, so yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was clean the bathrooms, wash the sheets, cut the grass, take out the garbage, all that stuff. So when all that stuff was done, the rest of the time was in the garage. And I came home from school one Friday, and all parts were laid out on tables for 427 out of a '69 Corvette. Nice. And a restoration sort of thing. And do you remember the old hardback Blue Motors manuals?
Oh yeah.
I don't even think they sell them anymore. Nope. So I was handed a blue hardback Motors manual and said it better wake me up in the morning. And I was left all night long to bolt together that 427 and drop it in that Corvette. That's how it all started.
That's fantastic. And my grandson, he's been in the shop since he was in a walker, but he literally loves to work on stuff. He can explain a planetary gear to you. We know how a magnetrain works. It's pretty crazy the way.
How does a Positrack work in a Plymouth? Yeah. I don't know. It just does.
It just does. But he was into the monster trucks too. They do the flips right. and so yeah, he gets exposed to all that. And it's good for young people to know those things, because again, like, you're educating people. You can't give them the bullshit if they know how things work. And then
yes,
it's a little easier to cope with having some common sense and knowing how things work. I think that's important. So, okay.
Well, knowing how to, and I'm sorry to interrupt, knowing how to work on things helped me to survive when I was younger.
Yeah.
I mean, I priced out, and this is kind of funny. My wife has an Explorer Sport. Water pump started leaking a little bit. They want $2,500 to change a water pump in that thing.
Yes.
Now, granted, everybody needs to do it, but my point being, kids these days, if they knew, cars are a little more technological now, but at least know how to change a tire and put on a set of brake pads.
Yes.
The amount of money that you can save just having a little bit of mechanical knowledge is pretty incredible, really.
Right. And my daughter, she's 30 years old. I mean, my son's 32, but they change their own oil in their trucks, and they do their side-by-sides and all that stuff. They maintain their things, and I think the cool part of that is they appreciate the value of it because, you know, it's not just a beat it up and throw it away thing. They take care of it. It lasts a long time. So they see that, and that's important. So that's something else that we just got to keep pushing towards all the young kids to remember that it's important.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So favorite rides, your favorite motorcycle, and your favorite route to ride.
Oh, let's see. My favorite motorcycle is whatever one I'm on right then.
Okay.
It sounds like a crazy answer, but it's such a broad spectrum. I mean, I don't have a particular flavor that I like, right?
Okay.
I mean, you hand me one of my last bikes was an ultra classic with one of those huge Air Zeppelin seats on it.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it had the intercom, the speakers, the CB. It was the ultimate quintessential retired guy's bike, but it'd pull a front wheel in third gear.
Oh yeah.
And it was fun as heck to ride. But I like, you know, riding little small choppers too. Favorite ride, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to beat Spearfish Canyon.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple other roads like the Natchez Trace that goes through Tennessee.
That's fantastic. We did that on the first Cannonball. That was an amazing ride.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's secluded. You know, there's no commercial traffic on it and all that stuff. I guess it's just the solitude. And I don't ride in a lot of group rides. It's never really. I've done a few, charity rides and things like that, and a few friends and stuff, cross country trips and things. But for the most part, I kind of like riding by myself. That's that slow thing, the slow, fast, faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Slow it down.
Thing. Yeah.
So in between here, we have Nancy Keener says hello from Maryland.
All right.
Dennis Stauber, Big D, checking in from Marengo, Illinois, who's all going to the smokeout. They're all going to the smokeout. So that is too cool.
Now tell them I'm actually going to be. Do you know Tom Kiefer, Franklin Church Choppers?
I do know Mr. Kiefer.
Yeah, Mr. Kiefer is a wonderful, wonderful guy. He's an incredible bike builder. So he's bringing a few of his wonderful builds, and I'm actually going to set up kind of with him and next to him. So we'll be hanging out there. So if anybody wanted to stop by and say hello, I'll be hanging out at Franklin Church Choppers or helping out, Chris and Heather or whatever.
Everybody, if you get a chance and you're coming to the smokeout, you definitely have to go. Just go hang out. You'll enjoy it. I'm excited that you guys are going to be there because I enjoy your company and it's cool. And we all work well together. So that is too cool. So, okay. What is your absolute favorite song?
Oh, the Wake by the band.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Levon Helms. Oh man. All of his stuff. I mean, the band is one of those that, they've kind of floated away into oblivion, right?
Yes.
But the Wake by the band. Rolled into Nazareth, feeling about a half past dead. I love that stuff.
That is, as much as they've gone away, they're still timeless.
Yes.
Absolutely timeless music. It's like Little Feat. I'm very much a fan. Willing, that's one of my favorite songs from Little Feat. But yeah, I'm a fan like that too. So, okay, this question, and it can go any way you want it to go. Who is your childhood hero and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. Wow. I would have to say I can't pick an individual person. The people that I looked at the most were the people that did incredible things that were almost unheard of. Our first astronauts, the John Glenns of the world.
Oh yeah.
The guys that did things that were just unimaginable, and really set the stage. And then you had people that were innovators, like Henry Ford and stuff. I mean, those were the guys that I looked at when I was a kid. I aspired to be an innovator, I don't want to say that word influencer because it has too many modern connotations.
Nowadays, yeah.
People that, left their mark in some way or another. And there's so many, I can't really answer that.
Okay, I'll go with that because I'm the same way. It's that thing where so many of them had influence on how you saw the world and what you wanted to do. So
yeah.
I get that for sure. And then when I say who is your motorcycle hero, it doesn't have to be in the industry. It can be whatever. And I get that too if there's more than one influence.
That's a broad one too. There's unfortunately, the industry now has gotten so big and broad over the years. There's so many heroes. I would prefer not to use that word. Okay. I reserve that word hero for people that do incredibly magnanimous things selflessly, right? Yes. Those guys are heroes. So let's think of the people that I would say inspired me the most, that I admired and looked up to. And I have to go back to the people that paved the way for guys like me, right? You have, all the guys that have been around since, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and each one of them have their own little niche and specialty. A lot of people don't know a lot of these people, but you've got, of course, you've got your Dave Perowitz, your Donnie Smith, you've got, those guys, you've got, your Barry Coonies, you've got, then you get on the engine side of stuff. You've got your Barry Wardlaws, right? The guy is unbelievable, machinist and engine builder. You've got, there's so many people that I would say that I admired for paving the way for all of us, that next generation. And then you have the guys like Harmon. Harmon was building 120-inch shovel heads
long time ago.
Uh-huh. And then, let's see. There's just so many. Ben Hardy. Come on. That man, almost nobody knows who he was. Yet he built probably the two most iconic motorcycles that set the stage for the custom culture, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so there were just so many people. Another Tommy Summers. You ever heard of Tommy Summers?
That sounds familiar. I don't know why. Right,
but Tommy Summers painted the Purple Rain bike in Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Prince, right? Well, like Tommy built some of it. Everybody thinks this whole custom bike thing has always revolved around the bar and shield, and it hasn't. The truth is, a lot of cool Triumphs and Hondas and all that stuff were built back in the day because that's only thing people could afford.
That's right.
And Tommy was building these unbelievable, just crazy bikes back then, based on, import bike formats. And so, there are so many influential people that have set the stage, paved that way. And I'm sorry to, again, go around the world to get across the street, but
no, that's fine. We got all the time in the world.
The people, I admire the people that took their passion, recognized the skill that they had for it, and practiced it and developed their skill set and share it with the world, and there's so many incredibly talented people in this industry that set the path. And those are the ones that I would say, if you wanted to use the word hero, those guys would be my heroes, because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be a place for me.
That is super cool. I agree with that.
They deserve that respect.
Wholeheartedly. I definitely agree with you on that. So, okay, next question would be, what is your favorite road food?
Road food. Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Cracker Barrels are everywhere. You get a country fried steak, a mashed potato, and it's bathed and you can't brown gravy. No, you got to use that white milk gravy.
The white gravy. See, I'm the roast. I get the roast beef, the hash brown casserole, and the baby carrots. They have the best baby carrots in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fried okra.
See, yeah.
And,
you have to cook okra right though. Not a lot of people know how to cook okra.
That's true, and you get that sliminess.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of gross. And then you toss in a peach sweet tea, and my tummy is happy.
Okay, I like that. And yes, Cracker Barrel is consistent too. It's definitely something you can count on, and
Yeah.
it's good. So, all right.
Yes.
So
So I have to
then,
tell you a funny story. I have to tell
okay,
you a quick funny story about Cracker Barrel. So this was when my daughter was very, very young. And you know, when you go to Cracker Barrel, they have the brown aprons, right? And then they
yes,
give them the little stars across
stars.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little star thing. So we were at this Cracker Barrel traveling, and the service was horrendous at this one place. It was absolutely terrible. And our waitress, anyway, she wasn't quite all there. And out of nowhere, remember, she's very young. Out of nowhere, she looks at me and my wife and she goes, "She must have been a 1 star."
Oh my goodness.
So that was the funniest thing. But
Oh,
kids, they say the darndest things, right?
they do, and that's because we talk to them like people, treat them like people, and expect them to be people in the world, and that's what you get. They're quick, witty. They don't miss a beat. They got it going on. So that's super cool. Yeah. All right. So the next question, nobody can ever give me one. So everybody gets to pick two of their most cherished motorcycle memories. Doesn't have to be a ride, it could be anything
Hmm.
motorcycle related.
Two best motorcycle memories. The first one would have the first one. Yes, I've got an easy one because it also taught me a work ethic, right?
Okay.
So I was, let's see, I guess about 9 or 10 years old, I guess. Yeah, somewhere around 9 or 10 years old. My mom, stepdad, me and my sister moved to a log cabin out in the middle of nowhere. We had, I think we were sitting on like 15 or 18 acres, and there was a bunch of acreage all the way around us, you know. Well, we lived in this log cabin sitting on top of a hill, and the front lawn really wasn't a lawn. It was about a 5 acre field.
Okay.
And the field was just, it was a field covered in all kind of rocks and stuff everywhere. And so my stepdad came up to me one day, just kind of out of the blue, and he's got a notepad and a pen in his hand, and he says, "I need you to do something for me." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I need you to move all the rocks out of the field." Right now, understand, I came up working, so we had this old Ford Jubilee tractor. My job was to bush hog the fields and all this stuff. I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, and so anyway, he says, "For every rock you get out of the field, I'll give you a nickel." Well, in the middle of the field, there was this big one. I mean, it was huge, massive. Looking at it when I was a kid, it looked like you could carve Mount Rushmore on it. But to me, it was pretty big. And I said, "Well, how much you give me for the big one?" And he goes, "I told you." And he patted me on the head and he said, "I'll give you a nickel for every one." And I said, "Fair enough." So I figured I'd move the big one first. So I went in the barn, got a chain, went and got the old tractor, hooked it up, and I wrapped the chain around the rock. And it was kind of funny. I don't know how many of your viewers here will like those old tractors. You had a clutch pedal on one side, and then you had steering brakes on the other.
Yeah.
Transmission, the center tunnels there. Well, I'm a little guy, so I didn't weigh enough to sit in the seat and just push on the clutch pedal. I had to actually jump off the seat and land on the clutch pedal. And then to stop, I would have to shift it into gear and then jump to the brake side and get back on the seat. So anyway, I hook up the chain around the rock and jump off the clutch pedal onto the seat, and then the rock rolls and the chain comes off. And then it did it again and again and again and again and again. It took me all freaking day to move that one massive boulder, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, and I worked all day moving that stupid rock, and he gave me 5 cents. I wrote it down in a piece of paper. So the next morning, I was headed to the tractor. I'm gonna go get the box blade, and I'm gonna start moving rocks. And he insisted on me going to the hardware store with him. Well, next to the hardware store was a little Honda motorcycle shop. So it gives me chills to tell this story, really. So we pull up to the hardware store, and we go in, and I'm digging through boxes and nuts and bolts and plumbing supplies and stuff, just because I like looking at and touching stuff. And I begged him to let me go over to the Honda shop, and he agreed. So I walked over there, and they had a CR60, right? And it was perfect. I mean, the thing is bright red. It's got this bright blue seat on it, and then it had this big sold tag hanging on it. Broke my heart, right? So,
Right.
but I knew that was the motorcycle that I wanted. And so I went back to the hardware store. We looked around for another 20 or 30 minutes. And then when we walked out of the hardware store, that motorcycle with that sold tag was sitting in the back of his truck.
Oh, how awesome.
So when he saw me as I got much older, he explained to me when he saw me go for the big rock first, he called that day, the day before, the Honda shop and told them he wanted to buy that bike. So that is probably my best motorcycle memory, because that event taught me a work ethic.
That is so cool.
That's probably the biggest one. The second one was I spent several years kind of planning a trip across. Everybody thinks of Route 66, which is kind of dilapidated now, but
oh boy, sure is.
Exactly. But people forget about US 80.
Oh.
US 80 was actually the first coast-to-coast highway. It went from Tybee Island, Georgia to San Diego.
Okay.
All right. So there's only about a quarter of a mile of it actually called US 80 in Tybee Island. All right. And then it kind of becomes, I-20, and then you get into Texas. You get on the other side of Fort Worth, it becomes 180. You get out of Weatherford, and then it loops down through Salt Flat, Texas, which is a one-person town. I think they have a population of 1 or 2, I think.
Okay.
And then it goes through Carlsbad Caverns, Carlsbad, New Mexico, through El Paso. Then there's a little sliver of it, still called US 80, that goes through Bisbee and Tombstone, Arizona. Just a little loop, and it goes back up to 10, I believe it is. And then all the way into San Diego, and then there's only like a quarter of a mile left of it in San Diego. So what I decided to do was trace as much of the original US 80 as possible. And that put me going down absolute rutted out dirt roads, going through, Shakespeare was one ghost town that I actually went through, not realizing it was on a guy's private property.
Oh, shit.
Steens, New Mexico, that was another one. There were places I was on dirt roads, going through fields, going and just trying to trace as much as that as possible. And it was an unbelievable trip, because every time I ran out of gas, I didn't know where gas stations were, right? And every time I ran out of gas, there always seemed to be, after an hour or 3 or 4 hours, some guy that was a roughneck, getting on or off work, working the oil fields, or a farmer coming by. Somebody always seemed to have gas, and there was so many wonderful people along the way. But the biggest thing that I remember about that ride was I had a pretty rough upbringing, and I'll leave it at that. And so this was a bit of a reckoning for me, I guess. And there was this one point coming across the Guadalupe Mountains. I've never really been an emotional person. I am now that I've gotten older, but when I was younger, I was tough as nails and shit, And there was this one part that it's actually going across this 180. It's the world's largest plateau. Oh. And I didn't know that until after I got home and researched it. But there's a stretch of road that goes for like 50 to 80 miles, and there's this just slow, gradual grade the entire time. And when you get to the top of this hill at the edge of this plateau, they went through basically about 100 feet of mountain and carved the road out of the middle, like Straits of Gibraltar kind of thing, right?
Right. And
when you crest through this, you can see for what seems like hundreds of miles, and you see nothing. There's no lines painted on the road. It was the most, and the sun was just going down. It was just this unbelievably spiritual experience. And I pulled over on the side of the road, and I think I wept for 4 hours straight. It was a wonderful experience. And I would say those would be my two.
That's amazing. And I I love that. I always tell everybody life's full of peaks and valleys. I'm just looking for the plateau. I might
Yep.
have to go find that road for sure. I'll definitely hit you up. Okay, so then the next one is if money didn't matter and you could take a ride on your motorcycle anywhere, where would that be and with who?
I'd go with my wife.
Hmm.
Where would it be? To nowhere.
Just go. Just to
Nowhere.
go.
Just go. And I never wanted to, on a motorcycle, I never wanted a GPS to help me get somewhere. I wanted
Right.
the GPS to help me get home when I was ready, you
Okay.
know? And so I would say it would be the Gilligan's Island effect. No phone, no lights, no motor cars,
Yes. Yes.
and go nowhere. But at the same time go everywhere.
Everywhere. That is so cool. That is super,
Yeah.
super cool. I look forward to meeting your wife one day. Definitely. She's a lucky woman.
Oh
She's
no, she's
got a
not.
she's oh no, she's not. Well,
I'm,
there's
I'm the I'm the lucky one in this deal.
see,
Yeah,
and you're a smart guy too. You know it. That's awesome. That is
yeah, because she might
fantastic.
be watching.
Oh, see, I see how that goes. Well, hi, Mrs. Baxter, if you're watching. I look forward to meeting you. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, because we have some friends that they get themselves in trouble, buying things when the wife's on around, and then they have to wake up the next day and go, shit, did I really buy that? Kind of thing. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, it's
Fortunately, I've never had that issue.
I know in Sturgis someone had that issue, but it was quickly fixed, figured out. Okay, so the last couple things. So if you could tell us, well, I guess you might have already covered that, but if you got something else, tell us something good about yourself that others may not know. Because the Iron Man stuff, I don't think a lot of people knew that, but that qualifies. But if you got something else, I'll take it.
Hmm. You know, hmm. I'm a collector of memories.
Okay.
I've alluded to that on occasion. I have a mental thing that provides me with a really, really good memory. It's a long story, but it's an autobiographical memory type thing. If someone tells me something, I experienced something first person. I
Okay.
can remember those things in great detail, and I think I'm very genuine when I get to know people. I want to get to know people. I want to hear their stories. I want to hear about their life. I want to, where they've been. I like connecting with people that way because I, I've learned over the years that when you start looking, because I can store all these memories, right? You start to realize after a while that the human experience is not that much different for each person.
No.
And when people say have bad things that happen to them, if that's the worst thing that ever happened to them, it's the worst thing that ever happened. So in the end, their effect is the same.
Yes.
There are people that may have experienced much worse,
Mm-hmm.
but people that experience bad things a lot of times have a lot of good in their life too. And the human experience seems to balance out. So I enjoy, a lot of times when I meet people and I'm asking questions, sometimes they may think that I'm just being nosy, but not what I'm really doing is trying to learn about them, and I store all those memories and experiences um and oftentimes, with respect and privacy when necessary and all that, sometimes share someone else's experiences to help other people. So um I like I like when people tell me about their life. When yeah, what's the old saying? Never ask someone how they're doing unless you really want to know the answer.
Right.
Well, if I'm asking you how you're doing, I
You
really want to know the answer.
See, that's awesome. And that is genuine and we have that in common because I really do enjoy people. I enjoy the things that make them who they are. But that's the incredible part is that's the magic of what we get to experience because we're around so many people. And with
Yes.
the motorcycles bring that's the common denominator, but it brings in so many different stories of who people are. And
Yeah.
that is the neatest part. And that's why I'm doing this here too. Like you said, if that's the worst thing, it's the worst thing to them. But if you stop and think five good things, it might give you a different perspective. It's like smiling at somebody. Even though they look miserable, you walk past them, you smile. Sometimes you can change their day. Sometimes you can
Yeah.
change their life. You just never know. So you got
Just
to be
be kind.
positive. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So can you give us your 5 good things?
5 good things.
Mm-hmm.
5 good things. Thankful for my wife and daughter, her supporting me, because I work all the time. I'm all the time doing something. I'm crazy busy. She takes care of everything here. She's got my back, I'm thankful for my friends and relationships that I have. I am an incredibly fortunate individual that I have wonderful people in my life, that they support, they help, they givers of information, just kind. And there are so many relationships that I have, people all over the planet, really, that I've been fortunate to have. I had a good, and you pick up pieces of wisdom from all these people. So let's call that a third thing, the gained wisdom from those relationships, right?
Right.
So I had one very good friend, and he said, people use the term being in your circle. And I said, yeah. And he said, I don't have just a circle. I have a circle and a square. And I said, well, that's interesting. He said, the circle is for the people that, your acquaintances and maybe some of your close friends. But then you have the square. There are very few people that typically fit in the square. The people that are in the square are the ones that are always in your corner. It's an interesting perspective, isn't it?
That is definitely an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That is,
So, I've got an enormous circle and a pretty darn good sized square. So I'm thankful for those relationships and friends. Um, I'm thankful to be here. I have in my short life, I have buried many people much better than me, and I've had a lot of close calls over the years. And sometimes you just sit there and wonder. It's that reality check.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wonder, why I'm still here, and I'm thankful that I am, to be able to experience life and do things. Um, how many is that? 4?
That was 4. Yeah. You get
That
one
was 4.
more.
I could take the easy way out and tell you I'm thankful for white gravy at Cracker Barrel.
Okay. But see, that's something to be thankful for. Everybody's got to have something.
Yeah, it's the uh, the sound. I'm really not as crazy as this sounds. I'm not a huge fan of social media. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And I'm really not, because I think I don't want somebody to text me,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's just something quick and stupid. If you're gonna wish somebody a happy birthday, I like to pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Right.
Pick up the phone. But I say I'm not a big fan of it because it's removed the personal stuff. But what I am thankful for are things like what you are doing with this channel, and
Thank you.
and other people. You're bringing that personal connection back. People in this business are more than just a face, a company, and a product. We have a
Yes.
life too. We have passions. We have good days. We have bad days. We have illnesses. We have, finances. We have the same problems everybody else does.
All of
And
it.
so I guess my 5th thanks would be to you, and
Thank
and
you.
what and what you're doing here with the channel, and uh, bringing that grassroots motorcycling back to history. I guarantee you, I'm going to digress for a second. I guarantee you, if you walk down Main Street on Sturgis and you asked 100 people, if they just pick 100 people at random and ask them what the motor maids were, how many people you think would say yes?
The numbers are growing, but they're still not that good.
And it's no slam on. I mean, I got to
No.
tell you, one of the best speeches I've ever heard at the Sturgis Hall of Fame breakfast was when Gloria Struck did hers. What was, she did a big speech? Was it in 2018 or 2019? I think it was
She's
2017, maybe.
she's an amazing human being.
Yeah, I mean, her speech was like unreal, right?
Mhm.
And you ladies are tough as nails. I mean, it's awesome. But it's what you're bringing is a lot of that stuff that a lot of people when you think of the motorcycle industry as a whole, you see all the manufacturers' tents and stuff, the big one especially, all up and down out there, tens of thousands of people in that place. But
yeah,
some of the best, brightest, and most wonderfully built just motorcycles and builders and people in this business, oh man, those shows these little pop-up shows that are everywhere are some of the best bikes in Sturgis. And a lot of people, the masses, don't even know what's going on. So
right.
my fifth is people doing what you're doing, and that's telling the masses how awesome this industry is, how awesome the people in it are, and how much they can get out of it if they plug in.
Yes. And I appreciate that more than you know. And I look up to you because you've definitely done what you've set out to do, and you keep doing that. But for me, I'm grateful that you were here because you are an amazing person. I really love your energy. You're very smart. You're articulate. I'm sure, as your wife knows, because you're always busy, you're doing some cool stuff. And then anybody who watches the videos, you'll learn a lot of stuff. I'm learning. Don teaches me stuff, but sometimes it's hard. He makes me nervous. So I watch some of your videos and stuff, and then when I go back, I'm like, hey, I learned this, and that. And then he shows me, and then I don't feel so, because to me, he's my rock star. Like, he has that talent, it's a thing. So it's definitely important. But I am so grateful that I get a chance to do this. I want people to know who we are, what goes on around us, the regular folks, the industry folks, all of it. So I am grateful. Thanks for staying up past your bedtime. Tell the missus I appreciate her letting me borrow some of her time, because I'm sure after work that's her time. So I look forward to meeting her, and your daughter, thank her as well. And I will see you at the smokeout.
That sounds awesome. I look forward to it. And thanks for having me on. I've had a blast. I think you're a wonderful, wonderful person. I think what you're doing here is fantastic, and keep up the great work.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I will see you soon.
You got it, hon. Have a good night.
All right.
See
you
ya.
too. Bye. All right. So that was great. Sir Kevin Baxter, again, at baxtersgarage.com. He has Pro Twin Performance, so you can check him out. I really, really enjoyed having him. And it's super neat because, you meet great people, and that's what we're doing this for. I want everybody to know the great people that we're around. So if you see him out and you're at the smokeout or you're at another rally, go over, introduce yourself, say hello, say you saw him on the show, or you see him on his shows on YouTube and stuff like that. Follow him and get to know him, because we all want to get to know who you are. So that's the God's honest truth. That's why we do what we do. We meet some of the greatest people in the gas station, pumping gas on our motorcycles, going across country, people you would never know. So, okay, I'm going to give you guys my 5 good things for tonight. All right. So, number 1, I'm grateful for patience. It comes in just when I think I don't have it, have what it takes. And it does assist in my quest to move forward. Patience is something that I've learned to appreciate as the years go on. Second, my small fingers. My hands fit in the spots where some tools and man hands just do not go. And I was grateful for them this week, so working in the shop. Number 3, my will to not give up. Not give up on the important things in my life. If it doesn't work, at least I'll know I didn't give up or quit. So I'm glad for that. I'm stealing this one from last week because it still applies this week, and that's the strength. The strength means the world. Even when I'm unsure I can't carry the load, it shows up. Yay! Between strength and patience, we're getting somewhere, and I'm enjoying this, so it's totally cool. And then number 5, of course, being right here, right now, doing this little show with you. Thank you for watching. And then our afterthought. So I appreciate you all being here a little after our 1 hour kind of thing. Tonight's afterthought is all about commitment and effort. Everything worth anything in my life has required commitment and effort. I've found lately that there are times when others find my mindset on this very odd. I know. I'm an odd bird, so I see that sometimes I'm an unusual individual. But growing up, I made the commitment to make effort and do what was needed or wanted. So sometimes it was verbally discussed, but at times it was within my own soul and my motivation and enthusiasm to obtain the goal that I set. So when you set a goal and you move forward towards it and you stay positive, anything's possible. You just got to know anything's possible. Like we talked about astronauts, and look at what they're doing. It's just crazy. So it's allowed me to know more about myself and my resolve in the face of anything. So when I look at it, I make commitments in daily things, work, relationships, everything. So why not commit to my own goals and my desires? No one will work harder to honor my commitment to me than me. So same thing works for you. I mean, you commit to yourself and you work hard for it, and you'll get everything that you work for. Sometimes it takes a lot longer, but so give it a try. If you look at it that way, it can be a huge motivator. Make the commitment and effort to your own goals and desires, make the attempt, and see how it works out. So thing one's doing really good. That chair's not comfortable. He's been sitting over there, so we're gonna feed him. Craft services is really good. Like Don's out there cooking. We love craft services. Thank you, babe. Um, so yeah, just remember, smile big. Make sure that you do it with your heart, not for any one person, not for any group. Do it just for you, and be kind to yourself and others. It matters. Please participate in the show by either sending us your 5 positive things that you're grateful for, and or the things that you're happy to have in your life. Maybe I'll just read it here on the show, or send your question for a bit of positive perspective from the biker chickie. Just positive stuff though, no crazy off the wall whacked out shit, because we get enough of that in everyday life. We're trying to keep the positive stuff going. And then last but not least, you can follow at Athena After Dark Productions. Please follow on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stay tuned as we get better at this. Thing one's rocking it. Craft Services is feeding us. I'm getting it together. I'm learning how to read the prompter, so I'm getting better. I had to type all that stuff in there, so that was a job in itself. All right, so love to all. Good night, chopper on. Thank you to all the guests, all the sponsors, our great guest, Kevin Baxter. Please follow him. Say hello if you see him out in the world. And the viewers, thanks for watching. And social networking and all that stuff. Let's follow each other and have a great week. I'll see you next week here at 10 o'clock with another great guest. Smoke out. Don't forget. The 9th through the 11th. Be there or be, square, not rectangle. Whatever. All right, guys. See ya.